bill will help rid the military of what they describe as, quote, wokeness. But Democrats say Republicans are simply forcing an extremist ideology on American society. And joining us now to talk about this is former Republican Senator Bill Cohen, who also served as the defense secretary under President Bill Clinton. Secretary Cohen, thanks so much. Let me get your reaction to some of these amendments that were included in this bill. I'm sure you've gone over them. I guess your thoughts on what might happen to this big defense authorization bill if it gets put into the cultural wars meat grinder here in Washington.
Well, I think you described it right, Jim. It will become a meat grinder. I think most people anticipate the Senate will either reject the amendments or modify them, water them down to the point where the bill can go back to the House, and those on the radical right can say that, well, we don't like it, but we'll support it because we are, after all, trying to make sure that we fund our military. So it's dragging the military into the culture wars. I don't question the motivations of those who are raising issues, but, I think the way to handle this is to bring the Joint Chiefs to Congress, to the Senate Armed Services, House Armed Services, and say, okay, tell us what's going on. Are we ready or not? Are these programs of diversity and inclusion something that we treasure in this country about equality and opportunity? Are they undermining our readiness? And if so, say it on the record for us. Otherwise, we're just whipping back and forth between what the Republicans are saying and what the Democrats are opposing. It's not the way to treat our men and women who are serving us and putting their lives on the line.
And what do you have to say to some of these far-right Republicans who claim that the U.S. military has a, quote, wokeness problem?
Well, I've asked them, I haven't asked them, I'm asking you, what is wokeness? What does it mean? I said earlier today that was Harry Truman, President Truman, was he woke when he said we can no longer tolerate and accept the segregation of our military, that black men and women have an absolute equal right to serve in our military and serve together and not segregated? We don't want black people to drink at different water fountains, stay in different hotel rooms, etc. And so he decided we have to integrate. Was that a woke decision or a reality decision based upon our principles? Equal justice under the law, equal opportunity under the law, no discrimination based on race, ethnicity, etc. So it depends. Gays in the military, did that break our military, or was this something that was coming in terms of our society saying they can work and serve in the military? The military can handle this. And so you go through the issues, women in combat on the ground, in the air, flying high performance aircraft. Was that wokeness to say they should be able to fly these aircraft because they have the brain power and the capability to handle this kind of thing? So wokeness, if they're talking about gender issues, legitimate issue to consider, but again, call the military. Is the military able to handle this, or are we creating a problem for the military, undermining the readiness that we have today? I think we need to have that testimony rather than people say, I just personally are opposed to any sort of progressive steps that are taken on behalf of individuals. I think that that would be something they should require in the future.
And this bill follows moves made by Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville, who has been blocking military promotions and nominations over his objections to the Defense Department's reproductive health policies. I did want to get your reaction to that. What is your take on what he has been doing, and how much longer can this go on?
I think he's undermining our readiness. I think he's undermining the military. In the military, it's a well-organized procedure that we have. We bring new people in, we educate, train, and equip them. And then you have a process over years where you go on, and then you go up. The older members are retiring. They're moving on. We need to have replacements. If you don't have those replacements in play, then you're undermining our ability to wage effective combat should that ever happen. And so I think it's a very anti-military position taken by a very pro-military state. The new senator represents a very strong pro-military state. This is not pro-military. This is undermining our military. So I think the Senate has an obligation to call out on this, something as a courtesy to put a hold on a single individual. But here we have a hold on at least 200, 300 nominations coming out. We don't have a Marine commandant. We don't have commanders for our Fifth Fleet, Seventh Fleet. And so forth. So this is harming our ability to have people in charge who have authority and have respect commanding our forces. So that, in my judgment, it's anti-military and anti-readiness, anti-family, because the spouses now can't move on. They can't put their children in schools. They have to stay in place. They can't look for jobs when their spouses are transferred to another destination. All of this is undermining, I think, the morale of our military, and is totally unnecessary. You can make the point that you're pro-life or you're anti-choice, but don't put the military under the anvil here and weigh them down with questions about where they're going, if they're going, or are they just getting out? Can we afford to have that kind of dampening of morale? I don't think so.
And you were the defense secretary under President Clinton. Any advice to the current defense secretary as to how to handle something like this? Or do you just have to sit back and let the political process sort itself out? When you were defense secretary, did you have to deal with this kind of issue where the Senate just sort of took everything to a halt over a particular issue?
I never had to confront an issue like this. I don't know if the reports are correct.